So I often tell this story about my mother. When she came off the midnight shift, because she worked in a paper factory, she took her clothes off outside because they smelled so bad. And she would come in, she would whisper in our ear, "All things are possible. You can do anything." Now, I would guarantee you my mother did not know what subliminal messaging was, but she knew what positive thinking was.
Black women are the key. They're exhausted. They're holding up the world.
Let's be candid about this. Black women are central to the Black community. They're heads of households. They're our mothers. They are our daughters, our grandmothers, our nieces, our wives, our partners, our lovers.
There is no task more important. There is no community more innovative. There is nothing more transformational or more needed at this critical moment in our country's history.
There's a real need for job creation, not for handouts, but for hand-ups.
We are not going to advance racial equity and see the progress that we want to see if we don't focus on Black women.
We looked at what are the causes, what are the sources? Is it education? Is it healthcare? Is it just jobs and making the economy better and giving them more economic opportunity? Tell me the one thing. Well, mic drop. It's not one thing.
It is just common sense to invest in our mothers, daughters, sisters, and friends, empowering the women who have invested so much in us. And that's why Goldman Sachs is partnering with organizations led by Black women, listening, learning, and making the largest ever capital commitment, $10 billion, to fuel the futures of 1 million Black women and their families. $10 billion that will be invested in ideas, organizations, and institutions that impact Black women, starting at birth and at every key moment in her life. Access to prenatal care, early childhood education, broadband critical to closing the homework gap, and loans to enable high-achieving students to attend top colleges of their choice. And later, as these women move into the next phase of their lives, access to capital for their own small businesses, to have quality preventative health care, and ways to save for their children's future and their own retirement.
The more that we can empower these important community anchors that Black women are, the more that we're going to have progress together and as a whole.
You know, it's audacious, right? 1 million Black women, that's audacious.
If you can give people an opportunity and give them the kind of support that they need, perhaps the kind of mentorship that they would otherwise not get, they're going to do great things.
Invest in Black women.
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 Invest in Black women. Good evening, everyone. That video gives me chills every time I see it. Hello, hello. My name is Joteka Edie. I am the CEO and founder of Full Circle Strategies, along with our partners at Goldman Sachs and Values Partnerships and some amazing organizations. I'm truly proud to welcome each of you to the latest stop on the 1 Million Black Women Listening Tour. A few short months ago, as you saw in this powerful video, Goldman Sachs joined with Black women-led organizations to announce the largest ever capital commitment focused on investing in Black women, $10 billion over 10 years to impact the life of 1 million Black women. And yes, sisters, that's 10 billion with a B. We quickly started processing this, and when we launched this virtual listening tour, we know that we wanted one goal: to hear your thoughts, because we know that in order for this initiative to be impactful, we must first listen to Black women. But what does that really mean? What would this program look like? How will it work? And just as importantly, what are the specific challenges that Black women, particularly tonight in the food and hospitality industry, are facing? And how can those challenges be addressed by capital investments? That is what tonight is all about. We're here to learn more about the 1 Million Black Women program, listen to our panelists and our audience to understand the barriers, but also the opportunities that Black women have before them. We're going to have great conversations tonight, and we wish we were all in person here, but we're not. And so we are going to encourage you to use the chat box. And I can tell you, having been on this tour for a while, there's a lot of power in that chat box. So connect with each other, tell us where you're from, but share your feedback, your ideas, tell us what you're hearing, chime in. Also, it's important for you to share with the world that we're having this conversation, and we encourage you to follow at Goldman Sachs on Twitter. Let their amazing leader and chairman, David Solomon, know that we're all here gathering, and use Black Women Impact. That's hashtag Black Women Impact. So tonight, it's a very special night, and you all saw we have some very special guests. We have an amazing panel of entrepreneurs and leaders tonight. And tonight we'll have conversation with Rain Free, who is the chef and president of Red Door Catering. And we also have Robin Holmes, who is a graduate and a part of the amazing initiative 10,000 Small Businesses that was led and continues to be led by Goldman Sachs. She's a graduate of that program. She is an entrepreneur and owner of Dito's Mini Donuts in Baltimore, Maryland. We will also have an incredible conversation with the women. I love these women. I mean, May 4th, we just passed May 4th. May the force be with you. These women are a force. You will hear from the women at Goldman Sachs that are really the pioneers and really who's charging this effort. We'll be joined by Margaret Anandu, who is a partner at Goldman Sachs and one of the drivers and visionaries of this program. I would like to add, and I always add, that Margaret made history becoming the first and the youngest Black woman partner, at Goldman Sachs when she became a partner at Goldman Sachs a few years ago. And we'll also have Asahi Pompey. And Asahi is a member of the Goldman Sachs Management Committee and head of the Goldman Sachs Foundation. And she's also a member of the team at Goldman Sachs that is driving this investment strategy. I want to share with you that we will continue these listening sessions over the next coming months. And throughout this entire process, the team at 1 Million Black Women will take what we learned tonight. We will take what you write in the chat box. We will take the feedback that you gave us before, during, and after this session and beyond, and it will directly inform the investments that we will make. Now, I would like to introduce Dina Powell McCormick, who has some great news to share with you. Dina, we've been working together for a long force. She leads the global head of sustainability and inclusive growth at Goldman Sachs, in addition to the firm's sovereign business. She has a long history of building initiatives like this and was instrumental in the development of 10,000 Women and 10,000 Small Businesses. And we're just really excited. And we'll talk a bit about that later tonight. But now I would like to introduce to you all Dina Powell McCormick.
Wow, thank you so much, Joteka. I have goosebumps. Somebody just said that in the chat room. I really have goosebumps. I have the privilege to be on this panel with extraordinary women who I admire so much. I've had the privilege of working with Asahi, my partner, my fellow management committee member for so many years. She is such a rock star, but she's also a really good friend who was always there for me. And last week, she's like, what do I do for my son's birthday party? I said, karaoke. Karaoke, wireless microphones. I sent her the Amazon link. And it makes me so proud to be here with women I admire that I have the privilege of working with. Same with Margaret Anadu. She and I are both Texas girls by way of Nigeria, and in my case, Cairo, Egypt. And it's a privilege to work with them, truly. And Robin and Rain, thank you so much for joining us. It's built on your shoulders, what we're talking about, truly. And you are the people who are out there every day creating jobs for our country, and truly being the examples of incredibly strong female leaders. But I have the privilege tonight, and my girls didn't believe me, my daughters, but they're watching. They're like, you don't know Ayesha Curry, Mom. There is no way. There's no reason she could possibly know who you are. Ayesha, we are so honored, truly, to be with you tonight. What a role model that you are for all of our daughters and our sons. You are an incredible entrepreneur. The success that you have had is the kind of success we want to teach our children. You pay it forward in everything that you do. And that is how we have Rain with us tonight. The incredible work of your foundation, Eat, Learn, Play, and the incredible work that you have done. I am so honored to say that Ayesha is joining the 1 Million Black Women Advisory Council. We are so lucky to have your guidance, your direction, your friendship, your mentorship, and I cannot thank you enough. And we are actually going to turn it over to Ayesha to talk to everybody on the webinar about her journey. She is a woman of great success, but great humility. I've gotten to know her just in how we have decided to work together, and it's been a privilege. And thank you so much for being the role model that you are. And so I get to introduce a video and then turn it over to Ayesha. But before I stop, I want to say, can we just clap our hands for Joteka Edie? I mean, she is her own force. I have learned so much from her. We are so lucky we get to work with her at Goldman Sachs. Thank you, Joteka. Thank you for believing in this initiative. We promised her we would not let her down. We promised her that we would fulfill this mission of investing in the future of our country and investing in the pillars of our communities, Black women. So we love you, Joteka. And then Robin. I mean, the truth is we'd like Robin to move to New York so we can have the product she sells. But I will introduce the video now, and then we'll hear from Ayesha. You got to hear about Robin Holmes, guys. Here it is.
Needles started in 2016 when my mom passed away. It hurt me very much when she passed away and her job didn't acknowledge her passing. I decided to take that hurt and build a business that I could instill values that people appreciated their employees, and also build a company that would become a brand. I think the moment I realized when things got going was when I was introduced to Goldman Sachs, because I was asked to do a catering event for them. And it was like my wow moment. I must really be onto something if they see the potential in this product. This is the goal, to get into Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses, because I knew that if I got into that program, that was going to take me to the next level. It allowed me to network with others who have been doing this for 10, 20, 50 years in business, and then you had some new people like me. So just being able to be around those people in very diverse businesses and being able to network and bounce ideas, you know, having that support system was a great asset. Everything is happening so fast since completing the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program. It's time to grow, so I'm getting offers from everybody to come into brick and mortar. I love waking up, thinking about the business, thinking about what am I doing, what's my next step. There is no plan B. This is a plan. It's gonna work. This is in honor of my mother and my family, and Needles will be a national brand one day. I'm not gonna give up.
Robin, you're amazing. You're an inspiration to us all. And I know now we get to hear from Ayesha, and you're going to moderate a discussion for us, and then we're going to hear from Asahi and Margaret. So Ayesha, I'll turn it over to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you so much, Dina. I am so excited to be here. I'm humbled and honored, and quite frankly, very nervous. And I always feel like that's because I'm in a room of like-minded, a Zoom room of like-minded women and women that are smarter than me, quite frankly. And I feel like when you're nervous about something, it's because you care. So I'm very excited to be here. When I first heard about the 1 Million Black Women Initiative, the first thing that excited me wasn't the amount of the investment, even though $10 billion with a B will catch your attention, because like, what does that even look like? $10 billion. And so if you're any type of an entrepreneur, right, that's going to catch your attention. But that's really not what drew me to this the most. What excited me the most was the women behind this initiative, and the fact that you guys were doing something different and something that feels like such a simple thing when you say it out loud. But you guys centered Black women in every single way possible. And I think that that is spectacular. And your approach, like other investments, hasn't just focused on Black women because we're currently in style, which is very annoying. But what you guys realize is what we already know, is that we're not just the topic of an investment strategy. We're also the experts behind a lot of things, and the experts that people need in order for this to be really impactful. Because we really know the challenges that we face. And given investment opportunities like this one, it only makes sense that we would have some sort of insight into how to address those challenges, and in the process, transform our homes and our family and our communities that we love so much. So in partnership with my foundation, Eat, Learn, Play, which is an organization I started with my husband to create access to quality nutrition, quality education, and safe places to play. Tonight, I'm excited to share the goal of 1 Million Black Women, the 1 Million Black Women program, with and listen to fellow Black women entrepreneurs like me in the food and hospitality industry, which, you know, is an industry of service and love and giving, but an industry that in the midst of this pandemic and COVID-19 has faced extreme and numerous challenges. And it's particularly been hit hard by the pandemic in general. We'll get more into that during the panel later this evening. But before that, I'd like to pass it back to Joteka, who will share a short video with us on the entrepreneurial spirit and get into this panel that we're all here for. So thank you guys so much for this opportunity. I am just so honored. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Ayesha. And we're going to get right into it. And, you know, as Dina shared, we just saw that powerful video. And everybody's in the chat box. And I think what's clear is what we're saying is the fact that we're coming up on Mother's Day, and that we're having this conversation collectively, nearly 1,000 of us gathered tonight to talk about the entrepreneurial spirit and the business of Black women, particularly in this industry. And I know right now we want to have a conversation with you, Rain and Robin and Ayesha. There's no one better than you, Dina. I think you can say it better than I can, than Ayesha, to first start to have this conversation with Rain and Robin as it relates to Black women in food and industry. But first, before we have that conversation, and Dina, you should definitely chime in there. Ayesha, we'd love to hear your comments and just really your experience as an entrepreneur, and what are the challenges that you have seen, and how do you feel that investment can actually help drive change and support Black women in this industry and Black women overall?
Yeah, you know how I felt, and I've over the course of this pandemic, of course, have seen firsthand just the drastic changes in business, and then have had a chance to really sit back and think about what needs to happen to make a difference, especially in the hospitality industry. But I think for me in general, when it comes to entrepreneurship and business, it was about, because for a lot of us, this is the first time we're venturing into business, and we maybe necessarily haven't had that example of how to run a business, how to start a business, how to keep it going, who to hire, who to speak to. And so really just fitting together those puzzle pieces and having sessions like this where we get, the knowledge that we need to press forward, I think is so impactful. But also, just getting to the point for me where I realized that I belonged in these rooms and that I put in the work to be in these rooms. Because oftentimes we come in with so much grace and a little too much humility that you kind of get trampled over or not taken seriously. So for me, the biggest thing has been realizing that, no, I'm here, I'm loud, I'm proud, I'm supposed to be here, and I'm going to press forward and make this work. And so I'm just so grateful, I think, for rooms like this. I wish we were all, together actually physically in a room, but this will do for now, because it's so great to have a sense of community in business as well. So in hospitality, only 7% of the restaurant hospitality industry in general is women. And the percentage of that, which is Black women, I'm unsure of, but it's obviously less than that 7%. Which is a staggering number to me and something that needs to change. And so I think bringing just awareness in our industry of how to get stronger and more forceful is going to be of great help in and of itself. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, Vanessa Torres says, yes, indeed, we are stronger together. So we definitely want to bring in Rain and Robin, and we think, who better to moderate and to have a conversation with Rain and Robin about entrepreneurship and food and hospitality than you, Ayesha. So I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. So we'll start with Rain. So Rain Free is an Ohio native and chef who's based in Oakland, California. So I'm very excited today because it's a city that is so near and dear to my heart. I always say that it's the place that raised my husband and I into adulthood. Been living in the Bay Area since I was 20 years old. So it's very important to me. So thank you so much for being here today, Rain. And from what I understand, you've had to pivot your business recently due to COVID and even got a surprise visit from someone we know very well. So I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. Well, I just want to first start by thanking everyone on this panel, and personally thanking you, Ayesha, for your commitment. You and your husband stepped up really early on during COVID. Like my voice is cracking because you guys single-handedly saved restaurants and caterers and private chefs. I don't know if you realize the impact that you made, but it was huge. And not only saving these businesses, but also feeding the community with real good food. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yes, we definitely had to pivot. We didn't have any events as of March 11th. All the events were canceled. And so I had a crew of 50, didn't know what to do with them. In 15 years, I'd never laid anyone off. So we decided to just sit around and strategize, what are we going to do? And ask people, are they comfortable staying to work? How can we just make things happen? And what can we do with the talents we have to serve the community? So we received a phone call from the Eat, Play, Learn Foundation and World Central Kitchen, and we started to do that work. So with that, it also allowed me, I tend to try to find good in every challenging situation. And so that time period allowed me to slow down a bit and really just take inventory of what I'm doing, who I am, what I have access to, and what can I give. And so we started to do pop-ups. And then I started seeing more and more Black women food and beverage producers on social media. And I was like, wow, they're really dope. I wonder, where they producing. So reaching out to them and learning that they really didn't have access to capital. It's real. This program is evident that if you really want to move the needle, you have to do more as far as just loans and have a blend of capital and capital and grants in order to really make things happen. So I decided to start a collective, and it's called the Black Culinary Collective. And we opened yesterday. We had our, well, some of the business owners were working a little bit before, but we really launched yesterday. And it's a collective of Black women. We are there to support, encourage, help with accessing capital, and just make it live. So yes, the pivot was real. And the surprise guest was Madam Vice President Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
So yay! Literally still on cloud nine. Like, if I die today, I'm good. Yeah. So she was so incredibly gracious. She really cares, and the questions that the discussion that we had was around community banks and lending, and also supporting micro and small businesses and what we really need. And so what's really helpful, especially for like platforms like this, is people are asking us what we need. You're not telling us or just giving us something. And so, which everyone, most people know, if you don't get exactly what you need, you could actually be in a worse position. So getting, more funding, having access to purchasing property. Another struggle we're having right now is leases during this time. Landlords are, well, some, I won't say all, but it's been a struggle. And so finding opportunities that we can purchase and grow for now and for decades to come will be really impactful. So yeah, so she listened. I really feel like change is going to happen, and this is a real movement.
Absolutely. I agree. And on top of all that, she's an Oakland native. So
yeah. And my mom was trying to ask if she can make her curry goat and rice and peas. I was like, yeah, I don't think that's gonna.
Oh my goodness. You know what? I bet you would have loved that.
I told her, she was like, please tell your mother I said hello. And yes,
oh my goodness.
Yeah, that was great.
I love that. Well, I'm so grateful to you. I know you're saying you're grateful to ELP and us, but I'm so grateful to you. And it's been such a blessing and so special to truly watch the community come together the way that it did, outside of everybody's own struggles that they have within their, own homes and within their own businesses. We still saw people come together for the good of the community. What I like to call now is like the cup of sugar effect, giving a cup of sugar to your neighbor. And I think that it's just been, in light of all the darkness, it's just been so special to watch. So thank you so much, Rain. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, Robin, who we just saw an amazing video of a little bit earlier. Robin, you were a part of a separate Goldman Sachs initiative called 10,000 Small Businesses. And we know that many of our participants are also in that program. So can you please share your biggest challenge you faced when launching your business? What made the biggest difference for you when working with this program, and how did that impact your business?
Okay, I'm unmuted now. Well, amazing. Like I said in the video, I knew if I got into the program, things were going to change. I just knew it. 10,000 Small Businesses, it's a different program. And that's important to know, because our 10,000 Businesses is all about working with small businesses directly. This is about making larger scale capital investments to really grow and scale your business. So through the program, I was able to form connections and find valuable resources in addition to learning how to grow my business, which I feel is so important for Black women coming from non-traditional business backgrounds. So that was like really, really key for us. And when I had finished the program,
I had my growth plan in place. I knew where specific profit was, and the pandemic hit like the next year that everything was supposed to take place. So ironically, being able to have my growth plan and my network and resources, we were able to kind of stay afloat due to that. So that was so vital for me, making those connections and learning and being in that program. I knew that was key to growing my business.
That's amazing. And I totally get it. And network is so freaking important. And I feel like, as a Black woman in general, sometimes me personally, I don't know if anybody agrees with me, but oftentimes I feel guarded and I feel afraid to say that I don't know something, or afraid to meet somebody and kind of spill my thoughts and my ideas out of fear of like being judged or misguided. So having like a safe network, especially something like this with Goldman Sachs, I think is just so special, and feels like such a safe space. So I love that the program was amazing and helped guide you on the right path. So thank you for telling your story. But as a member of the advisory council, I want to hear from both Robin and Rain, where you think Goldman Sachs can invest to make the biggest difference for women in the hospitality and restaurant industry specifically. And as entrepreneurs, what do you think would have made the biggest difference for you in your business? Like, is it more training and mentorship, access to capital, opportunities to scale, a broader network? So that's a mouthful, but let's start with you, Rain, and hear your thoughts.
So I think the biggest impact, when I started TRD, I was undercapitalized. So I didn't have the capital I needed. You come in, when I started TRD, I didn't start it thinking that's what I was going to do. It was what I needed to do and to do to heal and to grow and to serve. And so I didn't seek the capital I needed, but I eventually started to fundraise later on. But having that initial capital that goes beyond debt would have been extremely helpful. Also, having access to a building, a space, would have been a great help, and it would have would really allow me to move and support others more quickly. So those are a couple of things that I think that impact having more tech support. The tech industry, and I'm not hating on the tech industry, they are, they receive a lot of money. They're celebrated for failures and taking big risks and having bold visions. And I think that we could tilt the mindset and have that same mindset for the food industry. And that's what I'm creating with the Black Culinary Collective as well. So money to grow that, money to also support the companies within the organization as well once they graduate from the program or move on. So yes.
Yeah, that makes total sense. It's like, in an industry, hospitality, it's about helping people, helping your community, giving service to others. And it's like, how can we possibly help other people if we haven't had the opportunity to help ourselves? And so I totally get what you're saying. So thank you for that. Robin, what do you think?
I would say definitely access to capital, but more importantly, I feel for Black women with little to no business education, I feel mentorship and networking in your specific area of business is more important to make sure that we can speak the language, educated in knowing our numbers. Because if you don't know your numbers, no one wants to continue the conversation with you, is what I learned. It doesn't matter how good your collard greens are. They just don't want to continue the conversation. So, non-traditional, you know your product, you know how to cook it, you know what to do with it. But if you can't speak the language in terms of financing and capital, the conversation isn't going anywhere. that's, you have to have that mentorship first, so that when you go for things like that, you can speak the language, you're on it. I met with a lot of people and they're surprised that I come as prepared as I come, because they don't expect us to, because normally we don't come from a business oriented background, or we don't look as polished. Like, I'm a food trucker, I'm a bootstrapper, and I look like this, and I'm not, I'm dressed up. So they don't expect for me to talk the language I talk when I go in to meet with them. And unfortunately, they try to shut you down if you don't. That's their way of keeping us out, I feel, sometimes.
Well, first of all, you're amazing and you're beautiful and you are polished and you are built for this. So they better start listening. But thank you both so much, Rain and Robin, for sharing both of your thoughts. You guys are so inspirational with both of your stories, individually and collectively. But now we want to hear from our friends that have come here to listen to all of us tonight, our audience. We've seen your comments in the chat. And obviously, I'll say it again, I wish we could be in a large auditorium post-COVID, but here we are virtually, and I'm sure we're all used to this these days, being on these Zooms all day. But we will attempt to hear from as many of you as possible in this situation, and we'll also capture all of your comments and feedbacks from the chat and post it in our event survey. So over to Joteka, who will open it up to audience questions.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ayesha. Thank you, Robin. And thank you, Rain. And Robin, I think you got the quote of the night. It doesn't matter how good your collard greens are. We got to have access to capital. We got to be able to actually have that conversation, and networking is key. And for all of you that are joining us, just a note, and someone asked the question, we actually, and Dina and Asahi and Margaret will tell you, we save the chat and we go back and we read that chat. So drop your ideas, your questions, your contact information in that chat box, because it is actually a tool. So we want to hear from you. Before we do that, there were a lot of questions in the chat, and I'm excited to make sure that we share a bit more about this program. So Asahi and Margaret, I want to bring you in here. We saw that exciting video at the beginning. And, everybody, it's, I remember Invest in Black Women. I also remember Mic Drop. So Asahi, tell us about 1 million Black women. So we've seen the power of entrepreneurship. We've seen, and we've already heard, what's needed, the challenges. We've had inspiration. But what is 1 million Black women? And tell us about that mic drop moment.
First of all, I want to say it is fantastic to be here and to speak to all of you. Joteka, you're an inspiration every single time, and your energy is fantastic. So it's great to see you. Ayesha, we love you. Can I just say that? And I know the 1,000 people that are on this are saying it loud and clear. You are an inspiration to so many of us, and in particular, to our 10,000 small business community who chimed in tonight in droves when they knew that they were going to have a chance to hear from you. These are women entrepreneurs around the country that are inspired for what you're doing in families, in communities. So thank you so incredibly, incredibly much. Joteka, it's been amazing to work with Margaret and Dina, Giselle, and the entire team under our CEO's leadership, David Solomon, on 1 million Black women. You said it at the beginning, it's a $10 billion investment to impact the lives of at least 1 million Black women by the year 2030. And we're doing that by investing along the arc of her life. Right? From that young Black girl in the community, imagining that she gets the kind of education that enables her to read by the age of 6 or 7, like majority children, that she's able to get broadband access. And we know for all the moms out there what it's been like dealing with online education. I've got 2 boys of my own, and being able to help with that. As we travel around her life, healthcare during the pandemic, our community has been so disproportionately impacted. and as she enters her career. So it's really around those key moments in a Black woman's life and Goldman Sachs investing along there. I have to say, with Mother's Day coming up, you know, from a heart level, A Million Black Women is about our mothers. It's about our daughters, our sisters, our friends. And it's about our whole community. And that lifts up the men in our community, the boys that we mother across the board. And I'd say it's even bigger. It's about this country and what empowering, and as Ayesha and Dina said at the very beginning, listening to Black women, invest in Black women, learning from Black women, and seeing that full potential and what this country will look like when we do that. And so that's what A Million Black Women is about.
Oh, that's amazing, Asahi. And speaking about what this country would look like, we encourage you all to visit the Goldman website, and there is an amazing report, Black Womanomics, that really looks at not only the challenges, but when we do invest in Black women, what scientifically and the data and the numbers show how our country is better. Margaret, I want to come to you. You've spent a lot of time focusing on investments. You've overseen over $9 billion of investments, you know, in your span of your work in the Urban Investment Strategy Group, and you're one of the leaders looking at these investments and capital investments. Walk us through an example. Give us one example of what an investment from this initiative would look like, and how, you know, folks should really be thinking about what an investment looks like.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Joteka. And honestly, I feel like I kind of don't have to say a word, right? After listening to Robin and Rain and their success, it's like there's no better way to describe how there's nothing better we could be investing in than Black women. It's obvious, you feel it. So I mean, at the end of the day, like the entire investing strategy is based on this very simple idea, right? If we want to advance racial equity, if we want to build back better, if we want an equitable recovery out of this pandemic, there's no way to do that without focusing on Black women. We're the mothers, we're the grandmothers, we're the breadwinners, we're the civic leaders, we're the restaurant owners. We are literally feeding our communities, not just our families. And so the idea is not how do we, first of all, provide the access to capital that Robin talked about, that Rain talked about, that Ayesha talked about. So that's one key pillar of where we want to invest. Who does a good job of getting capital to these businesses? The CDFIs, the community lenders, the banks, Goldman directly. So we want to put a lot of capital investment in that space. But then stepping back and thinking about it more broadly, and Asahi really touched on this in sort of like the arc of a Black woman, what else do these entrepreneurs need? How do we invest in the community infrastructure? The childcare needs, right? You're not headed to that restaurant to grow that business and open that fourth location if in your community you're not able to have someone to watch your children, right? We need these restaurant entrepreneurs to be healthy. We're investing in the healthcare facilities in their communities. We're investing in the advancement of education. So it's really about how do we invest in all of the spaces that surround these women and surround their families with the infrastructure they need. And, you know, this is a Black woman who is now, you know, the head economist at the Department of Labor currently said, Black women best. Once we figure out how to make this economy work for Black women, we're going to make it work for everyone. And so that's what Goldman Sachs is putting the $10 billion behind. So if you have an idea that's going to provide services, provide support, provide education, healthcare, access to capital to Black women, then we want to fund that business and we want to scale that business and we want to put capital behind that idea, because that's the goal, to really invest in Black women, their families, their homes, their communities at scale. And honestly, it's funny, sometimes, Asahi and Dean and I talk at the beginning, but to do it after listening to Robin and Rain and Ayesha, that's a mic drop. So, that's what we're putting our $10 billion behind. And I just couldn't be more excited.
So many mic drop moments. And so we want to keep all of these amazing panelists on, and we're going to come to you. And so we're really excited and glad to have some of our, those of you who registered, you submitted questions, and we were grateful that you agreed to come on live, and we're going to try to pull some of the questions out of the chat. But our first question will come from Brian Aria Johnson, who has a question. So we're going to go to her.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to speak today. So we kind of talked about some of the issues that, is common amongst all of us, access to capital. But my question is, how do we go about trying to streamline that process? A lot of organizations have, a lot of red tape, and, a lot of Black women are head of households. So there's, credit requirements that are involved, debt to income ratio that we don't always have. And so the process of actually getting the capital is somewhat difficult. And I know we talked about commercial corridors. That's an important piece because that's a very expensive piece to managing our business. So how do we go about streamlining that process to make it easier to get capital? And then I'll just add one other piece, that component that affects my business. I make pies. And so one of my goals is to try to get those into grocery stores. And that is a big gap, a big area that a lot of Black women are trying to get their products in grocery stores and distribution to stores. And that has been a challenge. Thank
Well,
you.
that's a very powerful question, a set of questions. Everyone perked up. I saw Ayesha was like, so I want to turn it over to the team there. Ayesha, love to get you in there. Adina, I know there's one part of that, and particularly making the connections and the network, and Margaret and Asahi getting you in there too, particularly on that access to capital part of that question. So we'll start with you, Ayesha.
Goodness. Well, honestly, that's something I'm figuring. That's something I'm in the midst of figuring out too. And I'm always super honest. I'm a learn as you go along type girl. I'm always trying to educate myself. But I think in regards to access to capital, what's so great about this program is that I was going to do it at the end, but I'll talk about it now. Just for something in the here and now, there's an amazing SBA that opened just this week, a program for SBA prioritizing businesses like yours that are open, so you can get some lending through Lendistry. So that's a great route. Hopefully, that's okay that I talk about that now, but I think that's a great start. And then just I think being involved in this program and using you all as a sounding board, I think is great too. Never being afraid to ask the questions like you did, I think is just the best start in my opinion. So that's amazing.
Absolutely. Margaret.
Yeah, I mean, Ayesha said it. I think, and I'll give a little bit of color about not just who Lendistry is specifically, but the type of lender. I think as we think about access to capital broadly, it's important to think about, the money, of course, the loan, but I think what you brought up, Renard, is the process. How does this person understand my business, understand what I'm trying to do, understand my background, all of my debt, my business plan, et cetera. And so that's why in this initiative, certainly in this partnership with Ayesha and ELP, we're focused on the types of lenders who are going to work with you, listen to all those questions, but also really be shoulder to shoulder with you as you figure out those questions, answer them, et cetera. And so a big key partner of ours in the access to capital pillar is these community development financial institutions, because they are right there with you with the DTI, being flexible, helping do the analysis. And so I think that's the real key here. It's who you seek access to capital from. And so Lendistry is a great example in this specific initiative, but all of the folks that we work with are going to be really community-driven, mission-driven lenders.
Thank you. And Dina and Asahi, know that you have spent a lot of time helping businesses, and particularly women in business, on the network. And that's an important conversation of how do you go from having a thriving business to getting that distribution. So I would love for both of you to quickly chime in there on that point of that question.
Yeah, Joteka, you put the nail on the head in that through the 10 years of 10,000 small businesses, we've learned a number of things. One is, one of our business owners who may be in the 1,000 people on here today, Carla Walker Miller, loves to say the worst time to meet a banker is when you need money, right? Because a lot of this is about having a pre-existing channel and a relationship. So when you come with that ask, exactly to your question, you don't have all of that red tape. They know who you are. They understand your business. They understand your strategy. But all too often, as Margaret described, we don't have that in our community. So with programs like 1 Million Black Women and 10,000 Small Businesses, we're looking to get exactly at the heart of that, where we build up a community of Black women business owners. We give them then access. We bring the banks to you, where they come into the classroom, they meet with you, they talk with you, they understand your structure, what you're looking to do. You build a growth plan that we help you through. Robin knows all about this in terms of working on her growth plan. It's good to see you again. I remember seeing you in Baltimore in 2019 at graduation. And so those are some of the things that I think are the key pillars to really breaking up that red tape in terms of access to capital.
It's hard to top Margaret and Asahi ever. I'll just speak for Jessica Johnson Pope, who's also Cope, who's on the chat. I just saw you, Jessica. Jessica owns Johnson Security in the Bronx. She has created 150 jobs in the poorest congressional district in the country. And she is a rock star. And I'll never forget her telling me, we take for granted the boys club, and it does exist, and they have a network, and it's just sort of understood. And we have got to create the girls network where we really can build upon each other's success. And Jessica and Carla and Robin, the thing that just truly is the most humbling, as Asahi said, is to watch you all work together and to support each other's success and to have each other's back. And I think that the more that we can do that, when we talked to Ayesha, we were so excited to work with her on anything, to be honest. But she said, I know what I want to work on. She said, when the world comes back and we are all done cooking at home, I think I'm eating out every meal of my life from now on. And she said, we cannot let the boys club take over the restaurants and this market opportunity. It has to be the extraordinary women like Bernarla, like Brain, like Robin. There's a market opportunity, and you all have to lead through it and help each other to do it. And we're so proud to watch you doing that.
Well, thank you all for that. So our next live video question will come from Octavia Fraser Porter. Octavia.
Hello, good evening, everyone. I thank you all for just being here, and Goldman Sachs for holding this situation accountable, especially for Black women like myself. So my question for all of you is, are there any organizations you recommend in helping Black women with business development, startup, and funding in the restaurant industry? I am a Black woman who wants to break into the vegan restaurant and food industry. And so I'm looking for starting up that.
Yeah, sorry. I'm like jumping on Joteka's the MC.
No, you go right ahead, Margaret.
Sorry, I got excited. Cool. Okay. So, here are a few of these. And I think, honestly, we're humbled to even get to work with these partners. There's so many organizations out there. So I'm going to give you a bunch, but then please, I know that we have the chat, so you should email me afterwards. But Sisters in Business is a great organization. Walker's Legacy, AEO, 1863 Ventures. There's so many, depending on kind of like regionally and what you're trying to start, but would love to connect offline or on email and share some of those organizations with you. Because I think they do many things. And, Dina talked about this, Asahi talked about this, the network, how you get started, et cetera. And there are lots of organizations. I'm sorry, where are you regionally in the country?
I'm in Newark, New Jersey.
Sorry, we've invested $1 billion in Newark. I'm obsessed with Newark. So we should definitely connect offline. And if you didn't know this already, although I'm sure you do, the best vegan, I think, restaurant in the country is now run by a Black woman, Slutty Vegan. So you love them too. Okay, perfect.
But I hate to interrupt, but do you see like just a moment like that? You just listed off like 7 or 8 different organizations. So oftentimes it's not even about the access. It's about the knowledge of what is out there and available to people. So having moments and forums and listening sessions like this are just so imperative and important in, helping all of us to grow our businesses, this sense of community and just lending that information. So thank you for that.
I couldn't agree with you more, Ayesha. And in fact, in the chat, people are listing other organizations as well. So this community is just incredible. I'm like reading organizations coming in. So it's fantastic.
Am I able to chime in?
Absolutely, Robin, chime right on in.
Oh, okay. So one in particular, because I tried many, that really helped grow my business was SCORE. They pair you up with somebody in the industry, and that really made a really big difference in growing my business. And they do it regionally, and I believe you can go and you can meet with them. I don't know how they're doing it right now because I meet with my mentor like kind of online now, but it has been really instrumental in the 4 years of growing my business. It really made a difference working with SCORE. And I know some of them partner with Goldman Sachs as well. So it was great seeing some of them in Goldman Sachs. So
that's what this is all about. And we're seeing a lot of organizations in the chat, but just to reiterate, SCORE, www.score.org. We are so resourceful as a group because all this information is in this chat. Walker's Legacy, an organization that helps businesses and train Sisters in Business Expo. And Octavia, you're in New Jersey. They just opened the Sister Shop, which profiles and highlights Black women businesses. I think over 50 businesses, and they are in one of the largest malls there and have an actual visual in-person footprint. And so all of those organizations, 1863 Ventures, they're in the chat, are all resources, and that is an excellent question. And also, Octavia, what that does is gives us insights on partners that we can potentially invest in, philanthropic if they're nonprofit, or capital investments if they are indeed on that side as well. So thank you for that.
Joteka, can I add just one more thing?
Yes, absolutely.
Sorry, I get way too excited. Goldman actually owns that mall that Joteka was mentioning. And one of the things that we did, and this is a friend of Asahi's and Dina's and mine, we really wanted that restaurant in that space to be, Black owned, quite frankly. So we opened a Marcus Samuelson restaurant in that space. And I'm sure he would love to be a mentor for you as you think about that market and how he thought about it. So we can connect you with him and the gentleman who's the manager of that restaurant, who is one really great, but also just a good time. So we'll make that connection as well.
See, these are the moments that happen at a 1 million Black women listening tour. Making connections with, extraordinary leaders and restaurateurs like Ayesha Curry and Marcus Hamilton. Octavia, we will be following up with you. Thank you so much. Our next live question is going to come from Mamie Groves. Mamie is, has been in the hospitality and food industry as an executive for more than 20 years. So she has some insights that she will share with us. Mamie Groves, who's also from South Carolina, I must add.
Thank you so much. This is great. This is why in undergrad I was going to be a forensic psychologist, and I'm glad I switched over because hospitality is absolutely fun, and I am so excited about this. This call is absolutely amazing. I would just like to say that capital investment is so important. The wealth gap combined with the lack of access between traditional loans and also investors, puts the Black women at a disadvantage before the restaurant doors even open. Out of all the chefs nationwide, only 17% are Black. And so you can imagine that percentage is much less for Black women. I have worked in a lot of cities throughout the nation. And unfortunately, even in working in the hotel industry and then now working in the private club industry, unfortunately, I have not worked with an executive female African-American Black chef. And I am waiting on the day. So I am, this call is so important. And mentorship is so important. So I'm just excited just to be, here listening to this, and, networking and capital investments are just key to how we're going to progress in the hospitality industry. So thank you.
Well, thank you for that, Mamie, and thank you for that piece of advice that access to capital is important, networking, but also mentorship, because there is such a low number of Black women chefs. And how do we actually
Yes.
invest in increasing those numbers, but also having them in a position of strength when those restaurant doors actually open? So I'll turn it over to any of our expert panelists to respond to that.
Maybe I completely agree with you, and it's you are speaking my language, because through the process of having my restaurant and looking for Black female executives, I mean it's crickets, because but the awareness is not there that the job opportunity is there, and then people begin to get discouraged and just don't end up showing up to come in for the interviews, and it's been so frustrating to me, so frustrating. Like I could cry. And then oftentimes what happens is people come in, they're looking around and they're like, where are my people? And I'm like, oh my God, I swear to you, I am searching. I swear to God, I'm searching high and low, come hell or high water. And I'm doing everything I can.
Yeah.
It's just the awareness is not there. And it's something I'm here with you. I totally understand. I am shouting it from the rooftops. But I think what it comes down to is that behind the scenes training and mentorship, and really making sure that we are finding these women when they're just starting out, and nurturing that, education, and making sure that, we're kind of hand in hand as they're growing into their executorship. So
I totally agree. My company told me, just go for it. Find, Black vendors, go for it. And I was like, yes. And exactly, crickets. Black operators, vendors, and with distribution. So right now is the time. And so I agree with you. We got to start early. We got to start when they're graduating culinary school and hospitality school. We got to get in there and start the mentorship really early.
Absolutely. You're so right, because what ends up happening is a lot of us are, the mothers in the households, and we're running our homes, and you got to take the next best thing if the opportunity isn't presenting itself. So it's great that businesses like ours are here. We're looking for people, so come see us, please.
Come see us.
Please. But I hear what you're saying loud and clear.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And does any of our other panelists want to chime in on that point? And Mandy, we see you in the chat. Mandy said, is there a list that exists of Black women chefs that we could lift up, that we could support, that we can find them? So I want to make sure that we're pulling out of the chat, because we do see you. But if any of our other panelists want to respond to Mimi's advice and counsel about the importance of networking and having, being seen, Ayesha's point, love to hear you chime in there.
I would like to chime in. So yes, mentorship is important. Sisterhood is important. If someone calls you and you have a question, I got a phone call last night. Someone's baking in the kitchen, they're new to the kitchen, and their recipe isn't working out. I'm not a pastry chef, but I know pastry chefs. So I text someone, hey, can you help someone out? They need a help on scaling their recipe so that it comes out perfect. Right away, they were like, sure, this is 6 o'clock in the morning. And she was willing to help. They've already connected and made that happen. So sometimes it doesn't have to be a formal, it could just simply be a text or showing up and asking for help. You'll be surprised that people will be willing to help you if you just ask. So.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Joteka, if I can say one more thing.
Absolutely. Go right ahead.
All right. I saw in the chat someone put internships. I'm going to let you all know that there's no such thing as non-paid internships in the restaurant industry right now. We are offering bonuses. The world is opening up, and we do not have people to work. So listen, if there's internships, there's everything. There's a lot of opportunities. There's a lot of programs that have been started in major corporations. So again, networking opportunities are there. So we can just move upward and onward, but we're here to assist.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you for that, Mimi, and thank you for joining us tonight. I wanted to pull out, and we are nearing the end tonight of this conversation, and I wanted to pull out some of the comments in the chat box because I believe that we've got, a lot of questions that came in through the Q&A. I want to ask this to the panel. One of the questions said, how can local communities that are not close to a resource center or a Goldman Sachs 10,000 small businesses, how can they benefit from 1 million Black women? And that came from R. Frazier. And so I'm a South Carolina girl. So how do those communities, particularly in the South and places that may not be where their centers?
So I have to say that Dina Powell, my partner, thought of this over a decade ago when we launched 10,000 Small Businesses. Dina was the one who spearheaded what's called the national cohort, because we realized that while we were running classes in particular jurisdictions, we weren't going to be able to cover the entire United States. And Dina said, what about if we're able to offer a combination of online classes people can do in their community, as well as being able to fly them to BAPS, and now we're flying people to New York at the end of this year to participate. So now wherever you are in the United States, you can be a part of 10,000 small businesses, even if there is no Goldman Sachs facility nearby. We have community colleges that we work with throughout the country. And Goldman Sachs, it's a little known fact, is one of the largest donors to community colleges. And in fact, restaurant owners and restaurateurs are some of the largest segments of our population of 10,000 small business graduates. I see a question in the chat, Joteka, saying, is there a required yearly revenue in order to be accepted into the program? $75,000 in yearly revenues and 2 employees. So we're really talking small business and entrepreneurs that are chefs and restaurateurs. Come one, come all. We're excited to have you be part of the program.
Yeah. Can I add just something very quickly to that?
Absolutely.
The one thing, and I don't know, Ayesha, if you were about to say this, I can mute myself. But I mean, one of the exciting things about the partnership that Ayesha built, and we were humbled to play a role with, is even the capital from Lendistry also help with those grants right now for the Restaurant Revitalization Fund. Again, this is free money to support you from the government. That is national. So, Ayesha's team and our team set up a beautiful website. You can go to it. And also that is a national online thing wherever you are in the country to get that capital.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Margaret, for sharing that. And thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. It's always exciting. I feel like it's a party. It's about 1,000 of us on here tonight. And, I know we're making waves on social media. Follow at Goldman Sachs. Use hashtag Black Women Impact. You can follow all of the women that you have seen. We know we can find Ayesha Curry at Ayesha Curry on Instagram and on Twitter. I like to follow her. And you can also follow all of our other great panelists. You can find them. We'll make sure we start to drop everybody's handles in the chat box, and you should drop your own handles in the chat box and follow each other. Again, as we shared, we're going to save the chat box, and we go through that and we reach out to you, and we will be following up with you. Everything that happened tonight is so important because it informs the investment strategy directly. I know they're all shaking their heads. Dina's shaking her head, Asahi, Margaret. I'm telling you, there have been investments and grants that have come out of a chat box. And that's what is the power of this listening tour. For all of you that have joined us following this event, we will share with you a post-event survey in which you can share your feedback and stay connected with us. You can also visit goldmansachs.com. There you will find 1 million Black women. In that survey, it will also have information for you to submit investment ideas, both a philanthropic idea and also a capital investment idea. And again, we encourage you to follow the hashtag Black Women Impact. Thank you again. And I actually want to turn it over to our special guest, Ayesha Curry, to close us out tonight.
Thank you so much, Joteka. I can't believe we did it. I can't believe we're at the end. This is nuts. I've learned so much. I'm sure everybody else on here has learned so much. I want to thank all of tonight's participants. And as we know, this pandemic has had a huge impact on all of our lives over the last year and change, and has specifically hit our restaurant industry pretty hard. But it really is great to hear about some of these examples of creativity and resilience born from such a difficult time. It's almost like the phoenix rising out of the ashes. But as Margaret touched on a little bit earlier, our goal this evening is about listening to you, but also connecting you to resources you may not know about. For instance, there's the Restaurant Revitalization Fund. It's an SBA program, which I spoke on a little bit earlier, to award funds to restaurants that experienced revenue loss during the pandemic. So the program just opened this week. And for the first 21 days, the SBA is prioritizing restaurants owned by women. But it is first come, first serve. So we want to make sure that you guys get in there as fast as you can and get all of the info so you can apply. And you can apply for these funds through one of our partners, Lendistry, by visiting we'll put it in the chat, bit.ly /Lendistry. So my AC Brands and the 1 Million Black Women and Lendistry teams will facilitate capital and technical assistance for Black women entrepreneurs in the greater Oakland area. So I'm very excited to share that on this Zoom. And our shared goal is to increase access to capital, improve financial health, and promote food security across our communities. So to learn more about that, go to lendistry.com/better together. Well, again, we'll put that in the chat as well. And I'm also proud to say that 1 Million Black Women is also partnering with my foundation, Eat, Learn, Play, to explore the role the restaurant industry can play in addressing food insecurity and fighting to end childhood hunger. So thank you guys so much for that. I'm so appreciative. And to get involved, for any of the participants out there to get involved and learn more, just visit eatlearnplay.org. I thought this was amazing. I am overwhelmed with just a sense of community. I feel like I've been given a hug this evening. I'm so excited to see what comes from this with many of your businesses. I truly believe, in this world full of no's, we're constantly told no, 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 no. But we've heard it time and time again. All you need is one yes. And I'm so grateful to Goldman Sachs and this 1 Million Black Women initiative for bringing me in and saying yes to all of these amazing Black women. Because even if you're the one yes, you're a yes, and that's all we need to start the path forward. So thank you guys so much. Let's stay connected in the days ahead, everyone, and let's have a massive impact on the lives of Black women together. So with that, thank you guys so much for your time, and good night. Thank you guys. Bye.